The ballot or the bullet, freedom or death. We gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes back in the 80s when the streets got soaked. My people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt. Man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment. It's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Tuesday, start of the week, and you already know how I do, independent music. So here is Philly Work, and we'll be right back right after this.
A revolutionary. Rasheem Carter, Tyree Nichols, Jaheim McMillan, Charlie McTowns, Takar Smith, Manuel Tortuguita Taran, Kaneen Anderson, Oscar Sanchez, say their names. India Krager, Breonna Taylor, Ayanna Stanley Jones, say their names. Long live Richard Fisher, long live Walter Wallace Jr., free Mumia, free Kamal, free Leonard, free Imam Jamil, free them all. What the fuck them motherfuckers do in your city? They be putting in work, then they lit like in Philly. They be on that 412, then they lit like in Philly. Are they ready to tear it down? Then they lit like in Philly. Tell me what the motherfuckers do in your city. Do they fill the bellies up? Then they lit like in Philly. Are they riders for the squatters? Then they lit like in Philly. They go savage on that swine, then they lit like in Philly. Light it up. Motherfuckers do in your city. They be putting in work, then they lit like in Philly. They be on that 412, then they lit like in Philly. Are they running down the walls, then they
good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That was Philly work. And I just happy Tuesday. This morning we will be talking about law, chaos, and the weaponization of our communities because that's what's happening. But this morning, as I was scrolling through YouTube like I always do, I saw something about Amy Bach. She has done an interview with CBS Morning, Gail, whatever. That's one of Oprah's best friends. But I found it interesting because we really don't hear from very many people, especially once they're convicted. We always hear maybe some narratives, but it's really never the truth. And I've really never heard, besides the little clips that people have used and used against her or whatever. But I really wanted to listen and hear her side of the story. So I found, even though it's a really quick interview, they said they talked to her for an hour. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch more footage. But they only turned it into 4 minutes and 52 seconds.
We've got an exclusive interview for you with a woman prosecutors say was the mastermind of Minnesota's biggest COVID-era fraud scheme. Her name is Amy Bach. She's 44 years old, and she is not part of the Somali community. Last year, she was convicted of orchestrating a $250 million plot to defraud government program to feed hungry kids. She spoke to CBS News Minnesota correspondent Jonah Kaplan, who joins us now. Jonah, good morning. We all want to hear what she has to say. Good morning to you.
Gail, good morning. As you mentioned, there's been so much focus on the Somali community here in Minnesota because of the widespread fraud. And most of the suspects charged and convicted in the schemes, they are from the Somali community. But as you mentioned, the mastermind, according to prosecutors, federal prosecutors, she is not Somali. And Amy Bach, when we spoke to her, it's rare for someone to speak with us in federal custody, but she expressed some regrets and defended her actions. We were allowed 1 hour to speak with Amy Bach over a video call from her Minnesota jail cell.
Now I can hear you, yes.
Until she was arrested in 2022, Bach led Feeding Our Future. The now infamous nonprofit signed up restaurants and caterers, many from Minnesota's large Somali community, to receive taxpayer money for providing meals to children in need.
During COVID, for obvious reasons, parents were allowed to come and pick up meals. So we suddenly were able to reach more children.
But prosecutors said it turned into something else, the nation's largest COVID-era fraud, with Bach as its mastermind. Are you the mastermind of this scheme?
Absolutely not. I believe in accountability. If I had done this, I would have pled guilty. I wouldn't have gone to trial. I wouldn't have put my children and my family through what we've been through. I've lost everything.
While Bach's attorney provided this video showing stacks of food, prosecutors say Bach and the businesses she recruited stole tens of millions of federal dollars, spending it on luxury cars, real estate ventures, and vacations.
I wish I could go back and do things differently, stop things, catch things. At that point in time, I believed we were doing everything in our power to protect the program.
But in 2021, Bach sued the state agency that oversaw the meal program, alleging its scrutiny of Somali applicants was, quote, discriminatory. How do you think state officials took that?
Nobody wants to be labeled as being racist.
Minnesota officials told a state watchdog the threat of legal consequences and negative media attention intimidated them into easing off.
The notion that a state government is paralyzed and has to allow this level of fraud because they were afraid of what I might do in a lawsuit is preposterous.
Humbly welcome Amy Bach.
In Minnesota's large Somali community, one leader called her a modern-day Robin Hood.
The community deserves this. The children need this.
In 2019, the nonprofit submitted $3 million worth of meal claims. 2 years later, it submitted nearly $200 million. All of a sudden, you're cutting $200 million worth of checks. How do you not see that as major red flags and keep this going?
We relied on the state. We told the state, this site is going to operate at this address, this day, this time, and this number of children. The state would then tell us that's approved.
Prosecutors also accused Bach of collecting bribes and kickbacks from meal site operators. At trial, they revealed text messages where she compared Feeding Our Future to the mob. Are you a mob boss?
Absolutely not. No.
Were you personally benefiting from any of it?
I collected my salary, and that was all that was collected.
Didn't federal agents find gold jewelry, cash in your closet?
They found minimal jewelry. I believe it was like 2 pair of earrings, a bracelet, a watch. There was some cash there.
At trial, Bach took the stand, but the jury didn't buy her story. Within hours, they convicted her on all counts. Last month, a judge ordered her to forfeit more than $5 million in proceeds from the fraud. Minnesota officials have defended their actions, noting that it was state employees who actually first contacted the FBI about implications in the fraud scheme. So far, 78 defendants connected to Feeding Our Future. Remember, just Feeding Our Future. There are other social service schemes at play. They have been charged, more than 60 pleading guilty or convicted at trial. Bach herself is awaiting sentencing, and she faces decades in prison.
I don't know if she'll honestly get decades in prison. But wow, that's really crazy. I would really like to watch the whole hour-long conversation, because it would really be interesting to hear how she blamed it on the state and said that they really allowed that. And I do believe it to a degree, because when you hear, I shouldn't say when you watch these committee hearings in the Minnesota legislative, and you should be watching in the next couple of weeks. They'll have another Minnesota legislative session for 2026. And people should really be paying attention to that, because our legislators allowed this. They promoted it because they were afraid of being called racist, especially the white ones. They were being afraid of being called racist. They didn't care if it was right or wrong. They cared because they would be called a racist. And that's crazy to me. I don't understand why people don't stand up to that shit. Like, whatever happened to right and wrong, and not, we only care because we're going to be called a racist. That's wild to me. I want to get into a conversation that Deanna Witt just had a few days ago about ICE in Minnesota, and especially in Hennepin County. And I thought it would be interesting, because you hear such a crazy ass rhetoric from Minneapolis police and from Hennepin County, and then you hear a whole nother side of the story from the feds. So there's 3 parts to this story, right? And then you have people who are in the streets. You have whatever little 20-30 seconds that video shows. They don't ever want to show you the whole story. They only just want to show you a narrative. So really, there's all kind of different stories out there, and somewhere in all of that is the truth. And I'm telling people to not take shit at face value. Do your research, look up shit, because I'm gonna tell you right now, we're in a world where, in society, where they only care about misinformation. They only care about what'll get clicks, views, and I really truly don't understand that. But here is Deanna Witt, and she's talking about ICE in Minnesota, and especially in Hennepin County.
With Hennepin County Sheriff Deanna Witt, and she joins us now. So thank you for your time, Sheriff.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's talk about involvement or lack of involvement here when it comes to your office, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, and your deputies. What is the involvement? Has there been response? What can you tell us?
Well, first, I think it's important for people to know that the statutory mandate for the sheriff is to keep peace within the entire county, which obviously includes the city of Minneapolis. We have been a part of just about everything that's going on, from responding to protests to responding to help calls to responding to large crowds. We have been helping not just the city of Minneapolis, but our suburban agencies as well. That's one of the things about this job, is making sure that we are there for all of our partners, all 36 law enforcement agencies within this county, and giving them whatever assistance they need.
What kind of toll has this taken, I guess, in your office? I'm wondering about morale. I'm also wondering about resources. If you're spending so much time and resources kind of, responding to these incidents.
Well, as far as morale, I can say that this has been very taxing on our deputies. I know that
lot of shit, man.
That not just our agency, but all of us, because all law enforcement agencies are in this together, that it's affecting all of us. But then when we talk about deploying resources and being able to make sure that we have that balance of making sure that, one, we are responding to our normal calls, but also, two, planning for things that could potentially get out of hand. That is why I'm so blessed that we have really good relationships in this county. I mean, our Hennepin chiefs have absolutely been amazing. You know, I spoke to on a meeting to our 4th district sheriffs, and knowing that the support is there if and when we need it, and we're just, it's a delicate balance, but you know, that's what we signed up for, and we all realize that we have to be in this together in order to keep our communities safe.
Are people, sort of the general public or protesters at the scene, do you think that they understand the difference between the different law enforcement agencies? Has that been an issue?
That has been an issue. We've received emails, calls, texts from people asking if it's been Hennepin County deputies and things like that, which is why we just put on our site this last week all the different uniforms people could expect to see Hennepin County Sheriff's deputies in. But there is some confusion with who or what agency people are working for, whether it's local or federal agents. And so it's our job, though, to make sure that we clear that up and make sure that our deputies are clearly defined as Hennepin County Sheriff's Office deputies. And so we're doing that, and we've also put something out there so that our communities know exactly what to expect when they see a Hennepin County deputy.
Yeah, we know that there's this lawsuit that's going through right now through the courts. It's the state of Minnesota, city of Minneapolis, and city of St. Paul. So not necessarily represented by Hennepin County, but the ask in this is that I guess the argument is from those local entities is that there's excessive force that's being used on the ground by federal agents. What can you tell us about what you've seen, either in person, via video, that kind of thing, about what's happening out there?
Well, I know that we have seen lots of videos that are going on out there, and also just hearing accounts from like our boots on the ground, and again, speaking to other sheriffs and chiefs about what's going on in their communities. So, you know, this is where we need to be very careful, right? The stereotyping is getting ridiculous. There are some agents that have used excessive force. We do know that some racial profiling has been going on, and it needs to stop. It just needs to stop. When we think about the fact that we are here trying to build and rebuild.
I want to stop for a minute, right? Because in Minnesota, in Hennepin County, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Ramsey, we have law enforcement agencies that we really don't trust, right? Because over the years, they have racially profiled, they have done police brutality. That's why it's really hard for me to take anything that O'Hara and Dewana Witt say, because they're not even trying to eradicate that shit out of their own departments. And they're still promoting it. That's why I say, to me, all these protests, and I'm going to get into, because this weekend was kind of, in my eyes, in my opinion, in which most Minnesotans it should be, I think a line was crossed. And I think it's a line that we need to discuss and we need to talk about, because it doesn't fall on labels. It doesn't fall on titles. It all falls on us human beings, right? We don't have many different, we have the same nose, we have the same eyes, we have the same ears, the same fingers. Some of us may have 9, some of us may have 11 toes, 11 fingers, but we're all human beings. And it's the fact that when we look at each other, we're the ones that are racially profiling. We're the ones that are mislabeling people without even talking to them, talking about, because in my eyes, especially what happened over the weekend, especially going into the church, and then Don Lemon yesterday saying that the people in the church were white supremacists. It's like, damn, you had kids in there that were scared, crying. You had women who were scared. And that's not just a narrative, that's the truth. And after this, with Dewana Witt, I'm going to show you that video. It's about 30 minutes long. And to me, you see a whole different side of people that we all especially if you're in Minnesota, you know these people. You maybe marched with them, or you maybe uh, had some kind of conversation. And to really to the point, it's time to start looking at people differently. It's time to start looking at people. Are you down for the team? Or are you down for the community? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it breaks down to. When you listen to Amy Bach in that little 4 minutes and 52 seconds, you heard a lot of it was on the state and elected officials. We're not seeing any kind of accountability. We're not seeing any kind of justice. Uh, so why should we really believe these people? And I still will never get it why people fall for it, especially when it comes to like Black Lives Matter and like Nikema or Chantel. It's like, damn, are we really here for the purpose, or are we just here for clicks and likes? And I really do feel like a lot of Democrat people are only there for clicks and likes. And that's why you're seeing a lot of shit going viral, but the shit that needs to go viral, we're not seeing because they don't want people to see that. They don't want to see people telling the truth. They don't want to see people out here being unified with the truth. Instead, they want the chaos.
Trust in some areas. When an officer, an agent, anybody in law enforcement oversteps that threshold, we all pay the price for it. And that's not fair. It's not right. You know, we have some of the most professional people here at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, as well as our surrounding agencies. And so when one person, even one person, is using excessive force or treating people poorly, unfortunately, we all have to pay the price for that. You know, we have a saying that nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And so we need people to be professional. We need them to follow the law. We need to make sure that that they are acting within the lines and the scopes of their law enforcement duties. And if you're not going to do it for anyone else, do it for your partners in this profession. It is a noble profession, and we need people to do the job right. We need to treat people with dignity and respect. We need all the rhetoric out there from all sides of everything that's going on right now.
And I do want to ask you a little bit more about that. But before I go there, I also want to just point out, I think, you know, people look at the videos and they say, well, but there are protesters who are also breaking the law. As a law enforcement officer, you know, what do you want people to know about some of the things that they're seeing that the protesters, not all protesters, we can't group all law enforcement, can't group all protesters together, right? But what are some of the egregious things that you're seeing on the protester side?
Throwing of water bottles that are frozen, you know, causing ice balls. It's ice balls, but we've seen that too. And again, we've also seen, though, that there have been some protesters out there that have been peacefully protesting. And I think that the ones who are stepping outside of that peacefulness are getting all of the attention. We have to do a better job on focusing on the protesters out there that are doing it the right way, peacefully, just like we have to focus on the law enforcement that are out there being respectful and doing their jobs. We need to make sure that there is some kind of attention towards that. Again, this overgeneralizations that are being put out there is helping no one. And so let's bring attention to that. But, you know, as far as when people are protesting and then it turns violent, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office will arrest you. And that's something that we've had communications with people about. It's like, you know, we again fielded many phone calls and emails. Why did we arrest this person or for whatever reason? And we have to explain.
They can't. This is the one part that I really want people to understand is that Hennepin County, Minneapolis police are not going to sit here and arrest an ICE agent. I just want to be 100% complete honest with you, and they're not going to arrest a federal, I don't even know, I just said ICE, but a federal agent. I want to show you what happened Sunday. This is Don Lemon's live. Georgia Fort was live. I didn't see it. Was really, I watched like maybe 8 minutes of it, and it was really, I didn't really see shit. It was all, it seemed like it was somebody was videotaping in somebody's pocket. So I want to show you Don Lemons, and I want to show you where I feel like people were wrong. So let's get into the ICE out on Sunday.
So activists are now in the church, and they are protesting, surrounded the church on the inside. They have found out that one of the pastors at here in the city, in the area, oh no. So the protesters are confronting church members and leaders. They have stopped the service. A lot of people, a number of people have left. There are some who are still sitting here.
Are you okay with the injustice that's happening within your city? We pray for justice every day. Are you okay? So you're not okay with
I'm just here. I'm just here photographing.
Are you okay with the injustice?
I'm not part of the group. I'm just here photographing. I'm a journalist. Excuse me, sir. Can I get right here? Thank you. I'm sorry. So you can see the protesters here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. During the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and Nikema stood up and said her piece, and then the protesters surrounded her. But this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so, here we go.
You took out the lead pastor.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
Okay. And so, the pastor is over there.
I want to stop it for a minute because this isn't the first time that I've heard this, right? And it's still the same. I would still feel the same if somebody went into because we should, right? But the same way that people have been accountable, we've seen people go to jail, we've seen people go to prisons. Wrong is wrong, no matter who is doing it. That's what our people are afraid to look at. This is, I'm going to be 100% honest, right? Everybody's talking about the KKK and Jim Crow laws. None of us have, I'm not old enough to have lived through any of that shit. I was born in 1977. The last time any type of KKK happened in Minnesota, that was back in the last time was in the 60s, and that was in Red Wing. Come on. And people didn't even want to look at that because when you bring up history like that, they get mad. And yes, we need to look at that shit, but wrong is wrong no matter who's doing it. I'm going to be straight up. And it's not about looking in the mirror, right? Because I would hope to God, as Americans and as human beings and as a black man, that we need to be held to a higher standard. I don't want to be, that's the crazy thing, looking in the mirror. That's not looking in the mirror. We're not out here lynching them. We're not out here fucking up the police. We're not doing none of that shit. Niggas are out here doing shit for clicks and likes. They're not out here standing on no real ass business. Let's be 100% honest. This was for affirmative actions and no other way around it. Let's be honest.
And so they're screaming Renee Good.
A crackhead. To her crew, a crackhead. A lesbian. Like, no, we fucking Jerome Treadwell. These niggas ain't serious. This is a permanent fucking action. Nobody brought no guns in there. Nobody tried to fuck anybody else. We're out there just all performing.
So right now it's kind of mayhem in here. And there are some folks here who are praying. Some of the members are chronicling, and it's a surprise effort, obviously, and the folks here are not happy about it, and so they're trying to figure out what to do about it. That's the lead pastor over there with the thing, and I don't know if he's the one that works for us. We don't know. That's what they're saying. So we're here just chronicling and reporting. We're not part of the activists, but we're here just reporting on them. I'm not with. I'm just. So this is what the First Amendment is about the freedom to protest. I'm sure people here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable. And there are people here I'm looking at a young man who's in the corner. He's frightened, he's scared, he's crying. People are leaving church. So, yeah. Guys standing up now saying, get out of our church. He's screaming. They're trying to calm him down. So I don't know if this is what they deem as successful or not. But anyways, I'm not going to get in the middle of it because I'm not here as an activist. I'm here as a journalist. I don't think they know what to do. I'm sure they probably call the local authorities right now, and they'll show up in a bit. But so far, no one has been hurt. People are just really angry and upset. And members of the church are trying to get them to calm down. But this is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street and you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. And for some reason, in our modern era,
King would have not have went into a church. Let's be honest. Because the same way I'm against motherfuckers going into mosques or going into synagogues or temples, right? The same way I am about motherfuckers going into churches. And I don't really care. Because it's wrong. Wrong is wrong. And why can't people see that? Why can't we call out wrong? Because the more this shit goes on, if we don't call this out, right? So when people go into a black church and just shoot it up, wouldn't motherfuckers be mad? Wouldn't motherfuckers be mad? So why are we mad about this? Why are we mad that people went into a house of God? A house of God, because there's a lot of people who are really not paying really much attention. They just want to go to work. They just want to come home. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the way the economy, that's the way the world, not the economy, the way the world is. That's the way the world is. There's some people who care, and then there's other people who don't. That's something that not just Minnesota, but every American needs to look at. Not everybody cares. They want to do their civil duty by voting every year or every other year or every 4 years. But they don't want to do nothing more than they just want to go to work, come home to their family, and that's it. And that's it. Should we really, this my thing of it is, right? To me, that's like somebody that is like an innocent bystander. That's to me like an innocent bystander, because when we sit here and do the same thing that happened to Anaya, back of her car eating McDonald's. Come on, or somebody jumping off a trampoline. And I really didn't see a lot of niggas in Minnesota, Minneapolis, come out for that shit. And that's what's really sad, is that motherfuckers will come out over a white woman, but they won't come out over black babies, black mothers, because we still have people who disrespect black women. So should we really expect anything different? If you have people that are not willing to, I was a person that was by any means necessary. So if that meant fucking up the police department, I did that in Red Wing. If it meant fucking up City Hall, I did that in Red Wing. Kool-Aid, bread, I really fucked it up, right? I thought that was a protest for me because, first of all, Goodhue County sheriffs and the Red Wing police have been traumatizing and profiling and all kinds of shit to black people. The same thing with Red Wing public schools. So I wanted to do something to make sure that people were heard, because they weren't hearing me when I was sitting there protesting peacefully. Nobody wanted to hear me until I did something that wasn't what they considered against the law, right? Because a whole lot of other people came to me and was like, you were wrong, right? Nakima, there was a bunch of them. That's what the crazy part, what I don't understand. The same thing, these people were down in me and Kaya and all these other people, but now that we want to hold others accountable, that's the part I don't understand. Because people talk about looking in the mirror. These people were blocking ICE agents for getting a sex offender. All because it's about ICE. All because it's not about doing the right thing. It's about politics. Why don't people understand that? It's not about right or wrong. It's about Republican or Democrat. And niggas fell for it. We fell for it. Niggas fell for the... That's the whole crazy part, man. Niggas fell for the overplay, for the underplay. And I can't do nothing but shake my head, because we really don't want the truth. We don't want people to sit here and stand up and really make sure we get a change and reform, because everything they do, we have been lied to. Been lied to. So when the next black man, black woman, or black child dies because they said their legislation would save them, that's a fucking lie. And I want people to hold themselves accountable, right? Because I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this. All the people that I pointed out in this video, I'm going to show how much they make from nonprofits, right? And who are funded by government or state entities. Now tell me that's not crazy. So you tell me, how are we supposed to get any kind of change if the government is funding it? I'll wait. I would really want somebody to answer that, because if we're expecting change and the government is funding that, how do we expect any change?
People think that in order to have protests, you got to be, cordoned off to a certain area, and what time you can protest. Look, there's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, it's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortably and how harsh people are being treated, on the streets, you have to be willing to go into places and disrupt and make people uncomfortable. That is what this country is about. Nakima is over in the middle.
He lost the connection. Something happened. So here it goes.
And so, are you Nakima? Why were you?
Yes.
What did you tell them?
I told that David Easterwood is a pastor here, and he also serves as the director of the field office for ICE in St. Paul. How? David Easterwood.
Are you sure that he's a...
Yes. City Church. Yes. And that's why we're here, demanding justice for Renee Good and letting them know that this will not stand. They cannot pretend to be a house of God while harboring someone who is directing ICE agents to wreak havoc upon our community.
So it's only about Renee Good. This the craziest fuck to me, right? Because I remember during Derek Chauvin's trial, right? We sat downtown, me, Kaya, and we ended up doing, they want to call it an occupation or whatever. We sat there and protested and made we camped out on Hennepin County's property, right? In front of the Hennepin County Government Center. These were the same people that were telling us, me and Kia, that we were wrong. That we were wrong. And that we shouldn't be doing this type of shit. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Isn't it by any means necessary? Because I literally had people that were down there 24/7. 24/7. We ended up getting security down there. We ended up seeing them putting up blocks, doing all different types of shit. Hennepin County came down there. Dewana Witt, before she was sheriff, even came down there. And it's like, what do we really want accountability? Do we really want justice? Because we get so played, I feel like, when it comes to these performative actions, because we see so many, but nothing's changed, right? And they always want to bring up that Martin Luther King did this protest, did that protest, but there was actually a change behind it. It wasn't just some performative ass shit. This man sitting there started him and Claudette Covette and Rosa Parks. But they don't want to tell you that shit. They don't want to tell you about the Rosa Parks. They don't want to tell you about Claudette because she was pregnant. She was pregnant with a child. So they only wanted to show you. So when Rosa Parks happened, they went with that. She was an older Black woman and tired. But if they would have put up the pregnant 16-year-old, that would have looked all bad. Come on. But still, they did the Montgomery bus boycott. That worked because everybody was in on it. That's why I want to show what happens on Friday. Because you're still going to have people that go to work who still spend money because they have families to take care of, because they have loved ones to take care of, because they have to be responsible. They have to be accountable. And see, that's the whole fucked up part for me, right? Is when I first jumped off the couch, I was by any means necessary. It didn't matter if we were going to houses, because I went to Pete Orbit's, I went to Roger Pullman's in Red Wing, I went to Keith Ellison's. I've been to a whole, not with a lot of it, not with them, because they talk about Operation Pull Up. But every time that we had a plan to either go to Keith's or Jeremiah's house, because addresses are not very hard to find. That's what people don't understand, is that this information, like with houses, none of it's hard. If you know where you're looking, you're going to find. I knew where Nakima has lived since early last year, because she used to live on 30th and Lindale, right where all you seen that all the shit that just happened last week, right in front of where Nakima used to live. But in North Minneapolis. And then you had community members come out talking about they're tired of this. They just want their kids to feel safe, and they don't. You literally have parents that live in Minneapolis school district that, yeah, they want change, but their kids haven't been able to go outside and play for years. And now you only care because it's a white woman? Now you only care because it's a white woman? That we are really fucked up as Black people in Minnesota. Not even just Minnesota, in America, because I don't know how many people that I have seen stand up because other people are standing up. But when other people are asking for help, when real shit is happening in our communities, they don't get reactions like this. Marcus don't get no reactions like this. Because Bobby Joe played, that's the whole thing that I really want motherfuckers to understand, is that Bobby Joe plays games. Same thing with Todd Grimmett, whatever the fuck you want to call him. That's what people don't ever want to tell you the whole truth. They only want to tell you a narrative. That's why you see people are blocking people. And it's like, wow. You don't want to have a man-to-man conversation. You just want to block people. And to me, that's really crazy. But let me get back into this.
And who killed Renee Good, who almost killed a 6-month-old baby. Enough is enough. I am a reverend on top of being a lawyer and an activist. So I come here in the power of the Almighty God for righteousness, truth, and justice.
Right.
Is this the gentleman you were explaining to?
No, he's one of us.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a very, very, very good point, Ben. If people don't know, there's a big investigation right now, not only just because of the church incident. There's something else between the Wellness Collective and Zion Baptist Church, Bishop Howe, that whole little thing. So people really need to stop overlooking this shit and really see for what it's worth.
So we can find him. I'm gonna talk to the pastor. Let's see if I can talk to him. Let's go over here. Hi, how are you? Hi. Let's see if we can talk to the pastor.
Yeah, it went back and forth like this.
Maybe why they're here. Pastor of the church.
Our church had gathered for worship, which we do every Sunday, and we were interrupted by this group of protesters.
Yeah.
We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. So.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So that's one of the pastors of the church. And it's kind of loud, so I can't hear him. But they're still there. And then, pardon me, sir. Sorry. Do you mind if we talk to you? No. What do you think of this? I thought you said no.
What I'll tell you is that there are varying arrays of views on the political situation here. That's what I'll tell you.
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to leave it at that. But there's varying array of views in this church on politics of immigration. Right. And recognize the complexity of the issue.
Yeah. Some people don't like what's happening. Some people like it.
I'm not going to reduce it to that. I won't reduce it that simply, but we acknowledge the complexity of the situation.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you talking to me. So I'm just going to be as respectful as possible. I'm not here to intimidate anybody. Just here to chronicle and to get some answers and let people know what they've done. They've pumped the music up really, really loud. Here you heard the pastor. Some folks are praying back there. Do you see the guy with his arms stretched up? And they're praying. But by the way, just so you know, this is what you get with independent journalism that you will not get with corporate media. I'm just here to tell you. So if you're in the chat, if you're with us, support us, support us, support us. Like and subscribe, become a member, support independent journalism, because we do it without fear or favor. I'm not afraid to do this. Like I told you, it was going to be raw, unscripted. We got stuck in the snow trying to get here and to produce it in real time. Go here. As soon as we walked in, almost perfect timing, the protesters stood up. And so what is interesting is that the protesters don't really like talking to corporate media that much. They like talking to independent media. And they tell us what they're going to do, and we just follow, much as I did in the Capitol when Marjorie Taylor Greene got mad at me because I was there doing journalism and reporting on what the protesters that went to her office did, and she got mad at me and called me all kinds of names.
Yeah, the word racist really don't mean shit to me anymore, right? Because the same people who are counter-protest, we always recall, those are the people that have educated me. It has been no nigga. No nigga has offered to put me in school. That was all white people. And the whole racist thing. Now we go Negrophobia. Yes, because I can guarantee you that all of these niggas down here, especially that went into that church, are not like that no more. They're the same. There's no difference between these white people that they're protesting and the people that are protesting. They all live in uppity ass neighborhoods. There's no nigga down here that lives in the hood. There's none. There's none. Let's be real. To me, this shit is performative. And this shit has been happening for years. And we need to stand. It's not about, I know I call myself conservative. And really, at the end of the day, you only have two type of votes in Minnesota, right? It's DFL or it's either Republican, right? Some of them might call themselves a Democratic Socialist, or some Republicans might call themselves Action for Liberty. There's all different kind of cliques. It's no different from gang life. I'm going to be 100. This shit is no different from when I lived over north, growing up in high school, and when the GDs who were battling the vice lords, or we were into it with the Crips, or even with the Asian gangs. Let's be honest about this shit. There was so much. What has really changed? If you were really from Minneapolis and you went to City Inc., or you went to Pillsbury House, or you went to really any of those programs back in the day, Link, because Link started in North Minneapolis. It started by 2 Minnesota Viking players. And they were right in the hood. Those were people that, I don't know, I can't say they made a lot of money, but they made hundreds of thousands, right? We all know that the NFL and the NFL nowadays is totally different. But those men were NFL superstars. Oscar Reed and Jim Marshall came over to North Minneapolis. Camel J used to be in there. And tried to, everybody talks about they want to make America great again. No, let's make the streets safe again. Let's make this, because America ain't never been fucking great for nobody. Let's be 100% honest. The only type of people that America has been great for is people who have money and power. And a lot of those started with white people. We might that's the whole thing of it is, because they really showed that if you're vocal about certain shit, they can try to take it away from you. They did that with Kanye. That's why you don't see Diddy could all talk about rock the vote, but he was out here having freak offs. He was out here getting niggas in baby oil, getting cum rubbed on his titties. Is that the kind of shit y'all really wanted? But then I understand it because Epstein, maybe Trump and Epstein were close. I don't really know. I don't know. To be honest, all this shit is dirty to me, right? Because shit ain't changed. Shit has not changed at all. Only thing that's changed is motherfuckers' titles. It's the labels that we call them. Ain't nothing changed. These niggas still giving up the same interviews. RT Ryback, Betsy Hodges. But we went through that shit with their own Minneapolis police, Hennepin County. And now people care because it's ICE? Tell me that is not selective outrage, because I can tell you like this. When the 3 babies got shot, not many niggas was coming over to 36th and Penn because it didn't pay. There was no, you could probably lose your life over there. I don't know how many times we were in cases. Shit, it wasn't even like 300, 400 feet that somebody got shot in the head. And people, instead of trying to help, they dug through his pockets. How is that not crazy? We are really living in crazy times. Crazy times. And people want to bring up Renee Good. There's plenty of other videos I can talk about that local police departments have killed for less. For less. Because they always see us as a threat. And now you have, not only they're telling people to call 911, so you bring those slave catchers into the neighborhoods that they really wouldn't be in, but they're only there because people are calling 911. And man, that is wild to me. It's wild. It's wild. And we really, this ain't even about the KKK. This ain't even, because none of us were even born into that shit. Especially if you were born 75 to now, you didn't really see no more KKK shit. Let's be honest. Let's be motherfucking honest. Now when we talk to our parents, my dad has drunken black and white only water fountains. I can't never say that. I never had to live through that. So I really do understand it when I have conversations with my elders. I understand the trauma that they've been to because some of them were born into that shit. Some of them were born into Jim Crow laws. We weren't. Let's be honest. We weren't. And getting left behind for new Americans. If y'all do not understand that shit, these niggas ain't never had to go down to Franklin and go to where they used to pass out federalized subsidies, meat in a can, powdered milk, the cheese, the block cheese. Everybody remember the government cheese. That was just Land O'Lakes. But let's be honest, people don't remember that shit. That's why I really think this shit between, people tell me, especially when it comes to the Rochester NAACP, he's Nigerian. That nigga wasn't even born in America. I don't even care if he is a Nigerian American. He can never have the black experience because our ancestors went through an experience that, to be honest, a lot of people in America haven't felt. People haven't felt that their ancestors were property. Just like that little iPhone that y'all carried in your hands. Some of y'all ancestors were that. Some of your ancestors were property. Y'all don't give a fuck. Y'all don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, you make maybe 150, 200,000 from a nonprofit that gets grants from city entities, state entities. And then you're like, oh, but we're going to fight. We want freedom. We want freedom. This shit is funny as hell to me if we do not really understand this shit, because 2020 blossomed it. It exploded in 2020 because of COVID. There was so much money to go around, no matter if it came from PPP loans, no matter if it came from unemployment. There was people that fraudulently did shit in the system, no matter if it came to Medicaid, food stamps, unemployment. It didn't matter because all they cared about was getting that dollar. They didn't care about if it was right. They didn't care about if it was wrong. They just cared about that America, or Minnesota, is giving out free money, and they wanted a piece of it. They wanted to get their piece of the pie. They didn't care about the rest of the community, especially when it came to the Black community. They only cared about themselves.
They don't like it when you confront them. They don't like it when you practice journalism. So anyways, but they're still in the middle of the church. And there they are back there. And the music is so loud in here. I want you to show this, Mike. These guys are praying. They have their hands up. And there you see. And look, this is a juxtaposition. This shows you just how divided America is. When you look at the protesters here, and then you look at the...
Because I'm going to tell you like this. They wouldn't have went into no Black church and did that. I don't know how many Black pastors or reverends who have came out and seen this video that said they would have shot them niggas. You would have had a whole bunch of motherfucking dead protesters. So they went to somewhere where they knew nobody was going to pull those straps out. Because after what happened at that church in Minneapolis, where all those kids were shot, some were killed. Like, let's be honest. Let's be serious. Let's be real. I really don't get people. People stand up for what they want y'all to stand up for, not what we should stand up for. That's what I don't get. People everybody wants to be in the in crowd instead of having to sacrifice and struggle and be a self-made man, because everybody wants to be in a popularity contest. It's never about right or wrong. There's always some other bullshit that comes down to it. It's either about genderisms, it's either about ageisms, it's either about racism. And then we can go so many other isms, and we'll never get to the solution.
People there are praying. And you know what was the interesting thing? If these two groups could just get together, they might figure out what to do. Instead, I don't know if the people here are interested in talking to the protesters, but perhaps they should come in, pray together, and talk together. But anyways, that's the middle of it. If I were the pastor, I would offer a prayer. I would try to calm things down and say, listen, talk to you. We're all citizens. We're all believers and Christians. What do we do? Or I don't know if everybody is, but everybody's a human being. Let's work together and talk about these things. The pastor, there's one of the members who looks to be really upset, a young person. The pastor's trying to calm him down over there. And yeah, so there you go. You're a member of the church?
What's that?
You're a member of the church?
I do.
How do you feel about this?
I don't necessarily agree with everything that's going on in the Twin Cities right now, but I don't think it's good to fight fire with fire. I think it's good to speak up. I think it's good to protest, but I think it's better to do it in a peaceful way. I don't think the answer is going into God's church.
That's what I don't understand, right? So you go into a church because it's all white, but then you won't let us go to Keith Ellison's. You wouldn't let us go to... You never wanted us to go to Jacob Fry's. They always talk. I had to go do that on my own. And I have a video of that when he was sitting there down there putting up the George Floyd, I think it was the street sign. And I'm like, damn. Because to be honest, those aren't my people. Everybody wants us to unify. But what about accountability? How are we supposed to grab unity if people can't grab accountability? Because without no accountability, there will not be no unity. Let's be 100. The system has done, it didn't matter, poor people for years. And not just even my family. My Uncle Willie was executed not once, but twice. And he didn't even commit the crime. But they didn't care about that. All they cared about was that a sheriff died and not anything else about that he couldn't drive, that he could barely read. He didn't even know how to handle a gun. They didn't give a fuck about that. All they cared about that he was black and he was poor. And they knew nobody was going to fight for the nigga. They knew his parents didn't have the money, my great grandparents. So it's like, when are we going to have a conversation between right and wrong? Because people don't want to have that conversation. Let's just be 100% honest. People do not want to have that conversation about accountability so we can get to unity, because they will distract from having that conversation. I wanted to, Liz Collins had a conversation with a Somalian American, and they really had a good conversation. So I really wanted to get into that. It's about 13 or 11 minutes long. So let me play the Somalian American who's speaking out, and Liz Collins reports.
A Somali American speaking out against fraud and facing threats from his own community. The consequences of telling the truth instead of taking sides. Next. Abdi Noor Iftin is a Somali American, a naturalized U.S. citizen. He's also the author of a memoir titled Call Me American. Abdi, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Liz, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
You know, it is beyond obvious now that fraud has been plaguing Minnesota. You've been an important voice in all this. Well, there's more to be said, I know, about how elected officials and state agencies may be accountable. Many of those who have been charged and convicted are Somali. In fact, 90% of those who have been federally charged in fraud-related cases are Somali, according to court records. What has been your reaction to all of this attention, that this is happening now, and also knowing that it's been going on for so long?
Here's why you need to go to Slumberland to buy yourself a Tempur-Pedic mattress. It's got proprietary Tempur material. I used to get a lot of back pain, but now I don't.
I have been speaking about these issues, fraud as well as corruption, for a while. I mean, I understand now it's every American is aware of it because the news is talking about it. But here's what I think. I think my community, the Somali community, really needs to be honest, and we need to talk about fraud and who's committing it, even if it's our own members. First of all, fraud is fraud. It's really bad. It hurts everybody. It especially hurts the most vulnerable. So it hurts my community as well, the Somali community, right? And it doesn't give us any advantage. If we speak up against it and really become so honest about it, then that's an advantage, because our community needs to work hard. Our community, my community, Somali community, needs to have a good leader, you know, a leader that's a pretty good example, that promotes the ideas of America, that does not promote hate. And I also expect the Democratic leader to come to that conclusion, to really understand that if they're defending fraud, if they're not speaking about it, it's hurting our own vulnerable communities. So that's what I see. But most people are, you know, it's just become political. But I do not think it is political.
Now, Abdi, you've been censored and seriously threatened for speaking out. In fact, I know you were scheduled for a book event in Minneapolis not too long ago. What happened there?
Members of my community in Minnesota, and specifically those so-called leaders, got angry and upset that they had stormed into the place of my book talk, that it eventually ended up shutting it down just because there's only one thing I did, and it was speaking up against fraud in my community. It was hard, it was difficult dealing with it, but I realized it's even harder. I mean, if you're not admitting, if you're really attacking the person who is telling you fraud is bad, stand back, work hard, right? That's basically my narrative. And if that gets me attacked and that shuts down my book talks, then, you know, instead of getting angry, I thought I was actually doing the right thing. And I didn't shut up there. I went ahead and talked more. And up until now, I still keep talking about fraud. I'm using my platform to encourage the community to say no to fraud, to say no to the culture that promotes fraud, to say no to any political affiliation that is silent on fraud. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. And it seems like that when they couldn't do anything to me physically, my mother has been threatened in Somalia, that she ended up moving from one place to another place. And she's just nothing to do with this. It's just me, Somali American, naturalized United States citizen who loves this country, by the way, who loves hot dog, who loves all kinds of flavors of American ice cream. And to me, that's just a joy. And that itself has angered some Somali Americans. I don't know why. And I think we should really get to the point where you would let someone love America, if they want to love America, if you're attacking them for that and saying, oh, you're with the conservatives, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I never said that.
Right.
But we should not be put in a place, in a box, that we are anti-American, or that there are others who, I consider myself as a patriotic Somali American. I'm going to fight to be here, to be American. That's pretty much my narrative.
You know, we have seen some of the panic and hostility for ourselves. The police were called when Alpha News went to investigate daycare and autism centers. We received legal threats. We've also seen that same kind of hostility in those viral videos from Nick Shirley. Federal officials who recently visited the Twin Cities also reported much of the same happening to them. What do you make of this hostility on the streets now, this strange behavior at these facilities? What does that really say about what's going on here?
You know, what I see now, it's a cover-up, basically, creating this hostile environment, taking attention from the real issue, which is fraud, again, that has not only hurt the American taxpayer, but also the most vulnerable, who are, you know, if you look at most of these fraud, they are claiming to serve children, Somali children or other minority children, and they're not doing that. A lot of people have been charged for that. Why can't we talk about that instead of creating hostile environment and continuing this problem, which does not do any good, because a lot of money is being lost. And that money could have been going into our communities, different communities, not only necessarily the immigrant community, but every community. It could rebuild our roads. It could be building better schools. And that's what we need. So it personally hurts me to see this so much. It just personally makes me feel, you know, cringe and just, you know, I really hope Americans rise up and understand what's going on.
You know, along with the strange encounters, the facts and figures tell another side of the story. A recent report found that nearly 90% of Somali households with children in Minnesota receive welfare. 73% have at least one member of the household on Medicaid. What's the significance here? What do those numbers mean to you, Abdi?
You know, when I first arrived in the United States, by the way, for those watching, this was August 2014. So I spoke English already, learned from American movies, right? When I went to my community, my Somali community, the first two things I was told was to sign up for low-income housing, right? Section 8, to sign up for all of these benefits. But to do that, I have to connect with a local organization. So it's already a trap that I see. Someone is already waiting at the airport. Someone knows that you're arriving. There are all these NGOs that really want to use you. And I revolted. I said, I'm not here for that. I do not want to sit in someone's nonprofit, wait for them to serve, to help me with, I'm not disabled. I have never been. So I want to work. And I have seen a lot of my community members in this bubble, drinking tea all day long, all these little Somali stores or restaurants getting crowded. And I kept saying, you guys not going to work, right? It's a lot of young men in their 20s and their 30s. And so I immediately started speaking up, saying, you really guys need to get to work, you know. And if you look at it, all these NGOs or nonprofits or, you know, Medicaid agencies that are in Minnesota, this is what they thrive on. They look at those who are arriving, so-called refugees. And I do not think the so-called community leaders aren't doing enough to really do what is proper, which is send the kids to school, send the teenagers to work, do not, you know, and don't just hold them in this cultural thing and make them fear that assimilating into America is such a scary thing. It is not. I have really benefited a lot from blending and assimilating into American culture. I've lived here for 12 years. I have a master's degree. I went on, I worked hard, I wrote a book, and I just keep going. And I think that is what everyone could do in the United States. I could not do those. I could not write a book if I was still in Somalia. I could not get my master's degree if I was still in Somalia. And now I do. And that's what America provides, if you look for it.
There's another part to all of this. It's kind of hard to ignore how this isn't a coordinated nation-building effort. We had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently visit Minnesota as well. He announced some drastic changes to money transfers from the U.S. Do you think there's any truth to all of this, given the amount of money that's been leaving Minnesota and even the country, for that matter?
Yeah, I think there is. I'll give you one example. If a Somali person in Minneapolis wants to send money back to Somalia, I think the maximum amount that you could send in one day is $1,000, right? What do they ask you? They ask for a driver's license and a social security number one time, right? And they put you in the data. But the person who's collecting this money back in Somalia, nobody knows who they are because Somalia doesn't have any properly issued IDs, passports, or like people right there do not have any documents. So it could be an Al-Shabaab, who is a pretty radical group. It could be an ISIS person collecting the money over there. It could be a nice woman, mother, aunt. You never know. So that is why I'm actually kind of suspicious. If you go to a local Somali mosque in Minneapolis, and there's a few of them right now, a lot of them talk about Somali politics, the cultural, religious oppression of things like that. So it's the same views as the radical groups back in Somalia. And so those people have sent money back home. Who are they sending it to? We know where Al-Shabaab's stronghold is. It's pretty much everywhere in Somalia at the moment, right? And so nobody knows who is collecting the money, but someone knows who is sending the money. And I think if any of the federal government is watching this, I really hope that they start putting up a system thoroughly that sort of investigates who you are sending this money to, and just find a way to do that. And a lot of people will probably get busted, I guess.
We want to know, before we wrap this up, where can people follow your writings and your terrific work, Abdi?
Well, thank you so much. I wrote a book. It's on Amazon if you want to buy it, or if you Google "Call Me American" by Abdi, that's pretty much it. And I'm on X, Twitter, at Abdi Eftin, and I'm the guy who's wearing the blue suit.
Yeah, so if y'all go follow him on Twitter, X, please get that man a follow. I do want to get into the DOJ, Pam Bondi, and I can't remember it's Hameen or something, are investigating what happened Sunday. And I really want people to pay attention to this, right? Because you're really about to see some, I really wouldn't call it unprecedented, but we're really going to see things maybe how in their context, how they felt it was, and then how people had seen it, how they felt. And that's how it really comes down to, right? And it's all, to me, it's about right and wrong. Just because you believe that it's right doesn't mean that it's right. And just because that it's legal doesn't mean that it's right, because slavery was legal. So we really have to get into that point of calling out right and wrong and standing on that, because there were so many people that thought slavery was right and stood on that instead of fighting up to a racist system, which is a team, because it falls to judicial, it falls through services, through our programs and in the community, health, even when it comes down to the lawyers that they want to call them public defenders. But how do you have two opposing lawyers with the same signatures on their paychecks? Like, make that make sense to me, because if you're fighting for what's right, you're not going to be working with the people and getting paid by the same people that want you to make the difference, because it's not actually about a difference. It's about how much performative shit can you actually do. That's what it's about.
Tensions high still here in the Twin Cities, with anti-ICE protesters going into a church service in St. Paul on Sunday.
And Fox's Chelsea Torres is live in Minneapolis for us tonight. Chelsea, the Justice Department says it will now investigate possible civil rights violations with this case.
Yeah, that's right. Amy Kelsey, a senior DOJ official, is even saying that they're calling it illegal and a heinous act after a group of anti-ICE protests stormed into the city's church in St. Paul during services on Sunday.
This is the house of God, and
Now here you can see and hear protesters screaming at the pastor, many chanting ICE out, all while parishioners, including children, looked on before the group eventually left. The St. Paul Police Department says they're investigating it as a disorderly conduct case. Attorney General Pam Bondi says she has spoken with the pastor of the church, and an FBI team is starting an investigation into the incident. The DOJ's Civil Rights Office also says they have 2 prosecutors on their way here to Minneapolis, and they're pursuing federal charges.
This shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat issue. These are worshipers who are practicing their First Amendment rights to worship. And yet those rights were trampled on by these protesters who trespassed and began intimidating these Christians worshiping. So I'm glad to see the Department of Justice is taking this incredibly seriously. And I hope we see mugshots soon.
And in a response to the church incident, a spokesperson for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz told Fox, quote, "The governor has repeatedly and unequivocally urged protesters to do so peacefully while people have a right to no way supports interrupting a place of worship." And Secretary Kristi Noem even says in the last 6 weeks that 3,000 criminal illegal aliens, many of them rapists, murderers, and child pedophiles, all right here in the Minneapolis area. Amy, Kelsey?
Chelsea, you've been in town now for a while. You've been to some protests here over the weekend, maybe out to the Whipple Federal Building. What have you seen and what are you hearing about these protests?
Sure. Well, Saturday, I would say, as I was actually downtown here at the City Hall area where that protest and anti-protest kind of happened. I have to tell you guys, it's true. There's definitely a lot of peaceful protesters that are around. Even yesterday, I was at the postal worker office protests, and many of them were peaceful. They just walked around a block, and so you see that. But I think where a lot of things kind of get a little hairy is that you're also seeing a lot of these protesters that are becoming more belligerent and becoming more violent. And that's where it gets a little scary. I saw that down on Saturday afternoon here at City Hall. And it becomes more of a safety issue at that point when you're trying to be there and you're trying to see what everybody's doing. But then again, things do get a little chaotic. And even at the Whipple Federal Building, I was there Saturday evening and things began to get more chaotic. And again, I think the best part though about this is that people are very passionate about what they're doing, and I think a lot of people understand that, and you have to look at that from both sides, right? But at least there at the Whipple Building, I know that the sheriff's office did put up barriers now to really keep people out of the street, and I understand that was a safety issue. So that's really what I've been seeing every single day. Again, I think the cold though is probably keeping people a little bit at bay, and why things have been a little bit quieter, at least from yesterday into today.
Yeah. All right, Chelsea Torres, I know it's cold out.
And it definitely will be cold. I wanted to show what actually, because maybe a lot of people don't know what the FACE Act is. So the FACE Act was put in about abortion clinics. But the FACE Act is Freedom of Access and Clinic Entrances Act. According to 18 U.S.C. 248, is a federal law enacted in 1994 that prohibits violence, threats, intimidation, and property damage targeting individuals seeking or providing reproductive health services, as well as individuals or places of religious worship. The law is enforced by the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigations, and carries criminal penalties, including up to 11 years imprisonment and fines up to $250,000. So there's a clause in there that says places of religious worship. I think people really didn't test that. They wanted to test that and see where it got them, and they fucked around, and they're about to find out. We have this the whole thing that it comes down to, right? Even when it comes down to ICE, Trump don't write none of that legislation. That's all shit by congressmen and congresswomen. That's done by the Congress, right? Because how many presidents have deported so many people, and we've never seen any type of these protests, but now that it's Trump, we see them. And I really, really will never understand that at all. I just can't. Yeah, this shit is insane to me. So this morning, I seen something come up, and again, I didn't even think about how I put it. I'm not saying that what it was supposed to be. Okay, then. And are these Republicans? They really want to lose the black vote. Uh, and I didn't mean to put these are Republicans. So again, that's my fault. Context does matter. That's not the way that I meant it. Is that he is a Republican? I wanted the way that I meant to word it. Are these Republicans? We already know the Democrats because, like I said, is that if somebody there's the word nigger means two different things to me, right? You can use the ER and then you can use the A. Now, if you're coming in friendly, you're going to use the A. But if you're coming in with hateful rhetoric, you're going to use the ER. Let's be honest. There's two different meanings. Black people use nigger for kings and queens, right? We we have to deal with that this word has been changed for so many years, right? Because it's been different languages, Latin, all different type of languages, right? And I truly admit that's not the way that I meant that. And I really do apologize if anybody took that disrespectfully because I meant to ask, okay, then, are these Republicans? So I just really, that was my bad. That was my fault. And I take 100% accountability because words do matter. Words they matter, and they matter in a lot of different ways. And how I meant to put that's not how it came out written. So again, my mistake, you know what I'm saying? And I'm Rebel Rob. I know we were in this conversation. And I get the way that it was worded. That was my bad. That's not the way that I wanted to put it. And I should have double checked it twice before I hit post. Especially since I did it right before I was doing my podcast this morning. And not that that's not an excuse. That's being honest. I'm human. I'm a work in progress. I'm not always going to do things right. But I am wanting to get better. I am a person that wants to do good. I have a past of turmoil and trauma that I've caused to my own community, that I've caused my own family. And I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to be a person that brings prosperity to their community. I want to be a bright light in a dark world. And I feel like the only way we're going to do that is through education. So again, I'm going to say I was wrong. It wasn't the way that I wanted to word it. And that's me taking accountability. So I really want to put that out there that I was wrong the way that it was worded, because it should have definitely been worded differently, because words do matter in some instances. They do hurt. They won't kill you. You might kill yourself from it, but that's what we really have to look for. I hope everybody had a great Tuesday. I know I did. I had a great show. Actually, there is one thing that I wanted to show before I wanted to make sure that I showed that. This is from a movie that came out 2024, right? It's about Donald Trump, and if people haven't seen the movie, it's the making of The Apprentice. And I really do feel like it plays a big part in what we are seeing today. And I think people need to really look at it and then be open-minded, but also be critical, because I really do feel like this does play a big part in the Donald Trump that we're seeing since he met Roy Cohen.
I won 36-0. Government 0. Roy Cohn 36. I'm a winner.
How do you win?
You want to know how to win? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's rules. Roy Cohn's 3 rules of winning. The first rule is the simplest. Attack, attack, attack.
Civil rights, cats.
I hope the putts you're stuffing's got real money, because after I get you fired, you're sure gonna need it.
Excuse me?
Unless you drop your baseless litigation, I am countersuing the Justice Department for
$100 million, and you are gonna rue the day that you ever filed this.
Who is this?
It's Roy Cohn calling on behalf of my client, Donald J. Trump. Always let it ring twice. To whom do I owe the pleasure?
Mr. Cohn, this is J. Stanley Pottinger, head of the Civil Rights of the United
States Department of Justice.
Wow, I'm sure your mother's very proud.
How dare you threaten one of my attorneys? I should have you disbarred for speaking to her that way.
Stan, Bubba, why don't you calm down? That never happened.
Barbara Katz has worked for me for 20 years. You threatened her, and now she...
Sounds like maybe she's hormonal or something like that.
What did you say?
Rule 2. Admit nothing. Deny everything. Objection. The Civil Rights Division did not file a lawsuit. Frankly, it compiled a 48-page press release, as far as I can tell. Now, the government has failed to spell out one single fact concerning alleged discriminatory practices against blacks by the Trumps. I motion to have this case dismissed on summary judgment.
Overruled. Counselor, continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Agent Green, what led you to believe that you were denied a lease at Trump Properties based on your race?
Well, not only did the newspaper advertise...
That's Walter, DOJ. He runs the show.
I saw 3 Caucasian couples approved before.
Objection, speculation.
Mr. Cohn.
How can you say for sure they were Caucasian?
Please allow Agent Green to answer the question.
I've seen Puerto Ricans whiter than my tush after a long winter.
Your Honor.
Marvin, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. How do you feel about your chances?
The government's case is phony as a $3 bill. Let's just say we're in a very strong position.
Mr. Trump, do you think you can beat the U.S. government?
Feel very good about this.
One more question, Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, one more question.
We're really gonna win, aren't we?
Are you out of your mind? Of course not.
What?
Donald, your case is a total dog.
But you said that they had no evidence.
Your leasing agents marked black applications with a C. That C didn't stand for cotton candy, now did it? Raul, I'm late for a little rendezvous. Step on it.
Roy, you said we'd win hands down.
Rule 3. This is the most important rule of all. Okay? No matter what happens,
You have to drive
no
this
matter
fast?
what they say about you, no matter how beaten you are, you claim victory and never admit defeat. Never admit defeat, Donald. You want to win, that's how you win. Walter, my good friend, what a nice surprise.
It's nice to see you too, right?
Your bulldog cat's just being tough on us.
Barbara is one of our best.
You know, this case isn't fair. You and I both know that.
Well, you know what, Roy? Justice is complicated.
Justice is complicated?
Yeah.
You know what could get complicated, Walter? Is a married man committing certain indiscretions with the Cabana boys in Cancun. The last I checked, homosexuals were barred from federal civil service.
What do you want, Roy?
Why don't you do the right thing and make this case go away?
You know I can't do that.
You can.
Imagine your wife reading in the Post that her husband is a fairy. Is that what you want? Say hello to Myra and the kids.
That is really, really showing. Doesn't matter what they're accusing you of. deny everything. And I think people really need to pay attention to that and know what Trump is talking about and what his administration is. So even when it came down to Renee Good, deny everything. Even when it came to ICE officers breaking people's civil rights, deny everything. Deny everything. People really need to look at that and see and counterplay that in their minds of how that interacts with today's society. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, and I want people to enjoy the rest of their Tuesday. I know that Action and Liberty comes on, I think, at 1 on Rumble. There's people that are on Twitter, X, but I am going to do a deep dive into the people that were at this protest at the church. And I'm going to show you how everybody there is paid, and they're paid with 6 figures. So with that being said, I want people to enjoy this Tuesday, and win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well, and I will see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place.
Urban conservative. Circumstantial. They forget they were bred and made to be slaves, not like us, made to disgust and lost in the dust. Slave to the system, slave mentality. Calling fact fiction can't make sense of reality. Ain't even worth a mention. QAnon, my food time, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression or progression of a war we ain't asked for. You seek attention from those you won't come nowhere near, and say come to your town, you ain't got shit but your beard. And hate can't tell gay from straight, and hate the next cause you choose not to debate. Get irate cause the system, but get irate cause the system, but get irate cause the system takes. Urban conservative.
We'll try that in the hood. 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 We'll try that. Being black and walking on the sidewalk, kidnapped at a red light. Owner of the liquor store pulled a gun, cause I had my hood up. They think it's cool, well I act like a racist if you like. Cop cusses me out and spits in my face, stomping on my First and Fourth Amendment rights, and gaslighting me up. Yeah, you think you're tough, yeah, you think you're tough. Well try that in the hood, see how far you make it